Next tonight, Leicester's become the first English city where you're more likely to be Asian than white. The latest census release has revealed some big changes across the East Midlands. Far more of us don't identify as religious, and you're more likely to speak Polish here than in any other region. Well, our social affairs correspondent Jeremy Ball can tell us more. Jeremy, what have we learnt today?
This, Emily, is a treasure trove of information about who we feel we really are. Those questions we all answered on the census last year about ethnicity and religion and nationality. If you tuned in for the football, one little stat to whet your appetite, 378 people speak Welsh across the East Midlands government region. And we can show you here how the big picture is changing as people are living longer. This was the ethnic mix across the East Midlands at the last census. Look at the difference a decade on. 86% of us now describe ourselves as white. That's down from 89%. You can see our Asian population's grown to 8%. The majority say they're Indian. In yellow here, the black population has risen to 3%. A lot of that driven by new arrivals from Africa. And another 3% describe themselves as mixed race or other. So how are those changing numbers changing people's lives? Well, Navtej Johal has been to Leicester to find out.
I want me that.
That's your boyfriend?
No, I want you.
Meet Verna and her son, not boyfriend, Bernard. She's 100 and he's 78. They arrived in Leicester from Antigua in 1960, part of the Windrush generation. Back then, racism was a visible and constant presence in the city.
No. I've seen a few white guys. I have to turn another direction because they will attack you. It was a common thing.
And the more social with black people now and so on, and I think we all get on okay.
The latest census data shows that Leicester is now the first British city where no ethnic group is in the majority. But despite this, Bernard believes that not enough progress has been made in ensuring all races are treated equally.
I'm happy to see Leicester achieve, but I'm not happy to see what we have achieved. You see, it's subtle now. The racism is more subtle now. In our days, we could see it, we know it was there.
Demi is a dance teacher born and raised in Leicester by black Caribbean and white British parents. She says her mixed heritage makes her extra proud of the city's new status.
There's just so many different cultures. It allows you to not only be educated in that culture, but also experience and understand how they live, how they eat. I feel privileged being in a city that holds so much diversity and inclusivity as well.
Navtej Johal, BBC East Midlands Today, Leicester.
So, Jeremy, how's that ethnic mix affecting numbers in Leicester?
Well, it's really interesting because we've seen a really big drop in the white British population there. That's fallen to just a third of the city's population. And you can actually see where they are from this map on the census website. Those darker colours are areas where more of those people live. Now, just look at the difference when you click on the Indian population. Only very slightly larger numbers, but they're living in very different areas of the city. And here you can see how Indian families are moving further out, often to more affluent areas. In fact, the Indian populations in Charnwood and Blaby both soared by 50%. Leicester also came out as the most religious place in the East Midlands.
And religion's been making the census headlines nationally, hasn't it?
It has. In fact, if you described yourself as Christian, you are now in a minority. We know, of course, a lot of people these days only go to church for weddings and funerals. We can show you what's happening in the East Midlands on that as well. Most of us used to say we're Christian. That has now dropped to 45%. It does still dwarf every other religion. The region's now around 4% Muslim, around 2% Hindu, with another 2% from different faiths, which include Jews and Sikhs. But look at people with no religion. That has soared in the last decade, up to 40%. Why is that? Well, it's likely to reflect a huge shift in social attitudes. It's simply more acceptable these days to say that you're not religious. But the Archbishop of York says, well, that is a huge challenge.
Really fascinating. Thanks, Jeremy.